Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. This podcast is all about normalizing conversations around the taboo sex subjects, sexuality, masturbation, intimacy, arousal, all the things that men have little space to talk about. I love interviewing teachers on this podcast, interviewing men anonymously and learning about their relationships to sexuality. Today, we've got an amazing guest, a friend of mine, someone that I've been following for years. Her name is Melody Lubin, a facilitator, mentor of the feminine arts, which we'll dive into what that really means. Calling in from London, Melody, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Yeah, let's have some fun already and talk about what it means to be a mentor of the feminine arts and kind of, I see your videos on social media and the spaces that you're sharing and the practices that you're doing, so it helps me get an understanding, but I'd love to just tease it apart a little bit for the listeners.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the feminine arts to me is really, well, there's a couple of layers to it, but really orientating towards feminine principles, right? So deconstructing the masculine being at the front and really allowing the feminine to be at the front and center. And that comes with kind of polarity teachings and the organic polarity that exists between these energies. And then the expressive elements of the feminine is really kind of where I sit in, and that's what lights me up the most, is really kind of igniting myself and women into their expression. What does it mean for a woman to be in the fullness of her expression and her embodiment? And so much of that is sexuality, right? So much of our shame, our disconnect, our shutdown is based in sexuality. And so much of my work is reigniting that essence, reigniting that activation so that we can be fully expressed out in the world.
And I think that what I really pick up from when you say that is I think that word expression is so important because in the world today, and we talk about some of the masculine things, the masculine structures, it's so much a programming of what you do and your worth based upon your job or your title or the way that you appear. And it's forgotten the deep richness of fully expressing in what ways I like to express or what ways things want to move through. And so in a lot of videos, I see you with other women, and whether it's in movement or sound or just deep expression through all of these things that we have the ability to express with, it is quite fascinating the subtleties of expression as a human without other things.
Totally. And I feel like even like man or woman, we're all kind of on that journey of orientating ourselves to be more connected to our creativity, to be more connected to our expression, to feel more alive. And so it's not women do feminine work, right? I feel like we're all on that journey of finding the integration of where have we been sold that it's all about what we do, how we hold, how much we show up for our worth being dependent, what you just said, on those things. And actually, where does my aliveness lead me? What
Mm.
lights me up, and how do I want that to be expressed in the world?
All right, I'm already going off the rails here, but I feel like I have to. I feel like this is such an important conversation for sexuality because in my own path and so many of the people that I work with, I believe for so many, sexuality has become so stale and expressionless because at the very foundation, like our expression is really taking a hit when we're young of don't be too big, don't be like that, don't be seen in this way. Like there's a lot that gets hit on the ex of us expressing ourselves, and one of those is predominantly in the bedroom because I can speak for men. So much of it is hiding the tabooness. Don't talk about it. If we're connected to religion, there's the shame. And so for me, it has been a huge liberation of how do I express myself, whether it's movement, whether it's sound, whatever. And so for so many men, I feel like I'm trying to guide them to moving out of just being in one position and just touching one part of their body in this repetitive way. It's all so stagnant.
Mhm. Yeah, that rigidity, and that shows up not just, it shows up in our sexuality, it shows up in the bedroom, and it also shows up for us outside in the world. So us being able to really attune to the subtleties and start to let that current run. And then it translates from our relationship with ourselves and the bedroom and then outside in the world. So we're all kind of more vibrant, alive, more connectable, more integrated, more like there's an aliveness to somebody that's connected to their turn on, right? And that's such a thing that collectively we're starved of. And you can feel it, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, however they're embodying, you can feel that they're connected to that current. And then how they choose to hold that is the powerful part for me, anyway.
And I feel like that's what I'm continually focusing on is the translation that is moving into arousal as a way of bringing more vitality and aliveness to my life and the ones that I work with. That there's actually this huge shift or bridge that men have to walk across. That is what sexuality or masturbation has been programmed to be, and the potential richness, fullness that is there. Because that's what I feel as I'm always a student. So as I continually learn and grow in the departments that I like to work with and teach men, it's like I'm noticing how much more vibrant and alive I feel. That right now I have so much electricity moving through my body. The hair is standing up on my arms, whereas that was never the case before. I did so much drinking alcohol and all these numbing things. And now, as I work with this kind of expression that we're talking about here, that aliveness is so apparent for me. And I want to share that with more men, but I realize there's a bridge of the mind and the programming of the body to get to the point of understanding how arousal is something that has us feeling more alive and with more energy.
Totally. And that willingness to go from the mind into the body first off and be with the level of sensation that's there, and then titrate the harder sensations to the more easeful sensations so that we can stay in that journey of moving towards our vitality and our creativity. And that's really what like the feminine is, right? It's that body-based experience. It's our aliveness, it's our creativity, and that's so much connected to our sexuality. Our sexuality is our creativity. And as you speak and as you say, like you feel the tingling, you feel the hairs on your chest, like that's your life force moving through you.
Mhm.
And we can access that all of the time.
I'd love to talk a little bit about something you just mentioned, which is part of this path being on my way to feel more alive. Part of it is also the willingness to feel maybe the things that I don't want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that the willingness to because it's I almost be like it's about dangling the carrot of understanding that is some of the things I'm going to have to face that gets me to that side of the aliveness, the vitality, more pleasure, more connection, more depth. That there are some challenges we will face on the way to feeling more.
100%. It's unavoidable. It's like the cost almost, you know, it's like it just is. And I think one of the biggest things for me on my journey is trying not to identify with too much of what the sensation means and just allowing the sensation to exist and knowing that like pain is part of the path. And I was super numb for many years, many years. I didn't cry for like 3 years in part of my journey. I was so shut down, and I cry all the time now, multiple times throughout the day because there's just energy flowing and there's things to be grateful for and then there's things to feel tender around, and that's like the gift essentially. And if it's just part of it, and that's also what builds our capacity for it, right?
Mm.
It's like the more that we can stay with that sensation. And I think learning sensation and learning like really learning emotional ability to stay present is something very different to just kind of throwing your emotions around.
Mm.
But actually learning to be with the sensation and stay as present as possible is a real skill. To not let it take you out, to not let it like blow you out, to actually be able to let it keep opening something inside of you. And yeah, that there can be real beauty in that pain too.
There's many reasons why I think, particularly for me in working with men, sexuality is one of the most potent avenues to do that, where it's like I want to invest my life force in working with people that's going to have the largest results. It just makes the most sense to me that I want to invest, that's where I want to invest my energy. And there's many reasons why I think working with men and their relationship to sexuality is that thing. And this, what you're talking about here and what we're diving into around sensation and pain, I think is another reason why it's so potent because we have a perfect example in the bedroom, which is the transmutation of interpretation of pain. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people that find pain in the bedroom pleasurable. It's one of those places that we go, ooh, pain. Oh, that I can turn that into enjoyment, which is such a, Carolyn Elliott has existential kink teachings, and it's profound place for me to go, oh, you mean I can interpret that sensation in whatever way that I want?
Mhm.
And in the bedroom's one of those silly places to twist the mind up and go, oh, wow, I can be the curator in interpretation of sensation. I can be the one that decides, oh, sadness isn't a terrible thing.
Mhm.
Oh, fear isn't a terrible thing. This is a feeling that I have, and then different ways of emoting come through. And that at the end of the day, oh, I'm the one holding the keys on if I allow those things or not.
Totally. Yeah. And what you said at the beginning was kind of like the something about men and the integration of sexuality. And it's vital. Like there is no work without this component. And we have to stop believing that there is some kind of work without this vital nutrient and ingredient to our wholeness. It's and it's not like it shouldn't be seen as the last thing to integrate. It needs to be part of the integrative journey so that we're really going on the journey of the shadows of this aspect of ourselves so that we can show up as mature men and women. Yeah.
For me, I think that's one of the things that really hit me. And I talk a lot about this, which is David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness and realizing that the sexual shame is one of the first things that has to be addressed because it's the thing that keeps me or others in the greatest illusions of separation, something wrong with me, not good enough, that those are the things that I want to go towards and build, it's almost like I feel a lot of paths sometimes are working on the sheetrock of the third floor of the house when the thing needs to be torn down and the foundation needs to be addressed before the sheetrock on the third floor.
Yeah, totally. And I think for so many of us, well, for me, that's why it's my path, but it's my biggest teacher. My relationship to my sexuality has been my biggest teacher. It's been my deepest illuminator. It's like, oh, there's no hiding here. There's no hiding from the ways that this wants to distort and warp, and I want to do things with this that actually are not clean. It asks for your cleanliness, it asks for your integrity. And I just, yeah, without this integration, like there is no work.
One of the, for the listeners, one of the areas that I met Melody was within groups of women, and I was one of a few men in there, so it was a very interesting experience. I learned so much, and I continue to watch a lot of these women in their path. And one of the things that they talk a lot about, which we want to dive into today, is desire. and the complexity of that simple word and all the different ways that that shows up similarly to like full expression. And I wanted to talk a bit about my own experience as a man and how this correlates desire, sexuality, and ultimately my ability to create in my own life.
Mhm.
But before I go into my story, I'd love to just get a snippet from you of like desire and what that means for you.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's so important to debunk it from its connection solely to sexuality, because so often when we hear desire, it's like, oh, I desire in the bedroom, or I desire this person, or I desire that experience. And it's so related to some kind of sexuality. And for me, Eros has to be the foundation for us to be connected to our desire. So that's where it links,
Mm,
that the erotic aliveness is what is leading and guiding us to build our life.
mm,
But ultimately, desire for me is actually my ultimate creational potential. It's like I see desire as a soul map.
mm,
It's like guiding me from place to place to place. And when I feel the subtlety of my desire taking me somewhere, I
mm,
feel like it's part of my very specific soul map that is like already laid out for me. And I'm just going and picking up the pieces, like
mm,
that kind of feeling.
mm,
And so differentiating sexual desire to creational desire is a really important distinction in reclaiming our sovereignty and reclaiming our power, right? It's like if it's solely always at base level, if it's solely always connected to our primal body, we're actually missing the potential of what our fullness of our ability to be able to create is. We're just led by our hunger, we're just led by our animal
mm,
instincts. And there's something deeper, there's something more true. And so my relationship with desire is acknowledging that my eros is a foundational part of it. It has to be integrated. If I'm not turned on and alive, something's not happening.
yeah.
Like there's no way I'm saying yes to doing something if I don't fully feel my eros feeling that, right?
Mm,
And there's also a big maturation of our ability to identify what our primal desires are, like our animal desire, and then our true desires, like our heart-based desires, and where the universe wants us to go. So differentiating those two pieces has been really powerful. And my relationship with my desire now is like, what do I want to create?
mm,
What do I want to do? How do I want to live? And that's where I really feel what like mature desire feels like for me. Like, yes, I can still feel my hunger. Yes, I can tap into that when I want to, but I'm not led by that. I'm led by something way more subtle, way more deep, and way more tender.
mm, mm. I think, is a beautiful bridge for me to go into what I experienced in hearing about this subject, which was I started to realize that there was a lot of room for growth or improvement in this area, which was the question is like, what do I want to create?
Mm,
In whatever, there's so many different areas to create. For me, it's like, do I want to create community? Do I want to create this retreat center? Do I want to create my online business? Do I want to create myself as a better surfer? Do I want to create myself as a better speaker? And really realizing from listening to a lot of you women within that community was that I'll use this word because it's appropriate here. There was a limpness to my desire. It
mm,
wasn't strong. It wasn't something that I would be able to face challenge and adversity on the way to getting that desire. That and so that was really what began my path to be like, oh, wow. There is the desire in me is not very strong. And in realizing that this was in many areas of my life, but I was able to really focus and niche down on seeing it in the bedroom, in the primal, and
mm,
that has been a huge part of my path is that I get to focus on it there and in all areas of my life, whether it's the way that I show up for my business, the ways that I want to shape myself. For me, it's like I want to learn how to salsa dance. I have a desire for that. I have a desire to speak Spanish fluently. You know how many Spanish lessons I have to show up to learn Spanish fluently and how strong my desire really has to be for that. And the same with salsa dancing. All of these things, it was so potent for me to see, okay, my desire is lacking vitality. My desire is lacking strength.
Mm. What do you feel strengthened your desire?
Well, for one was just being aware and seeing it and noting from hearing others talk about it and looking at myself objectively and being like, in my life, I would say where I could see it the brightest was with snowboarding. With
Mm.
snowboarding, my desire was so strong. I would do anything. My life was committed to it. I did it every day. Like I know I have that ability, but there's also kind of an addictive side to desire as I looked at it. And when I chose to leave the world of snowboarding, it was almost like desire fell away with it.
Mm.
It was I've noticed like I'm all in on things, but I'm not in all areas of my life. So it was first the awareness, and then it was literally just practicing. I would wake up mornings and I would just write in my journal, this is what I want and this is how I want it. And it was just really this practice of those perceptions of reality over and over and over as a practice of like, this is what I want. This, and one of the biggest things I had to face in this journey, whether it's in the bedroom or relationship or in life, I realized that there were parts of me that really took a hit when I didn't quote unquote get the thing. So I've
Mm.
had to work a lot with those parts on my path to desire.
Hmm. Yeah, there's so many pieces. There's like, um, I think for so many people, even just the confronting question, like, what do I want? Like so many people don't know what they want. And that journey of discovering, okay, what is it that I actually want? Because I keep saying that I want these things and then I get them and then I don't want them. So then I try something else. And it's like, so what do I really want? Like I've said that I want a relationship and then I get in one and I don't want to be in it. So now I'm ending that relationship. So what is it? Like, what is actually true here? And
Mm.
that's where that maturation of kind of our primal and also our younger parts, right? Like making sure that our younger parts aren't leading our desire and from emptiness or addiction or whatever it is, seeking something, which is so,
Ooh,
so,
I think we got to pause there for a little bit because I think that's a potent one, especially when we talk about the primal desire. There's a lot of because that was a huge part, a huge part for me, and the fear of not getting things was very much from younger parts of myself, and realizing that in many ways I had to find out the younger parts that were leading my desires because I think that was a potent step for me to move into more mature desires where I'm feeling that electricity again. So I'd love to say a little bit more about the younger parts leading our desires.
yeah, there's something for me that I kind of feel like true desire, that there's something within us knowing ourselves that true desire always kind of like we know it deep down. Like snowboarding, for example, what you were just speaking to. It's like that's obviously something that's so true for you, and your relationship with it will change, but it will always be there as a core thing that you love.
Mhm.
And so for me, mine was always dancing, and like I've always wanted relationship, I've always wanted to be a mother, and then these th things come closer, and then they move away, and they come closer, and they move away. And I think that's a really important thing as well to note about our desire is that like sometimes something feels really close and then it gets further away and then it travels back in, but it doesn't mean that we can't have that thing. And so often when we're manifesting our desires, it's actually to figure out the younger parts.
Mm.
It's actually to
Ooh.
figure those out, and then that thing will blow up, and then we're like, oh, okay, cool. I actually don't want that thing now. And we come back to center, and but those desires don't go. You
Mm.
know, like the motherhood doesn't go, the relationship doesn't go, the dance doesn't go. It's like, oh, I just can't do it like that. That's
Mm.
where it was off, and I need to be here to have
Mm.
those things.
Mm. An example that's coming up for me is like a younger part that wants to be seen. And
Oh,
so I have these desires. These desires are being led, but they're from a younger part of me that like what didn't feel seen by parents or peers or whatever. And that it's like following that desire from that younger part is going to, if I'm paying attention and have awareness of it, is going to lead me through kind of ways of shattering and moving on to the next step.
exactly. And this is what I mean when I say like soul map, like the desire being a map. It's like it's taking you for the initiation that you have, that you need. And you said kind of something around not getting your desire. And that can be so common because we have to go on a specific journey to be able to actually receive and hold that.
Mm, mm,
And so our job, our role is to trust that intuition, to trust that feeling, to trust that subtlety, and be honest with ourselves of, oh, okay, I actually wasn't ready for this. Like this was a mistake. But how can I be honest and vulnerable and humble in the mistakes that I've made and learn to hear the mistakes sooner?
mm, mm.
Mistake, you
And
know?
this is And this is an important thread to what we talked about earlier because for me on the path of growing my desire and that part of me that's afraid of not getting what it wants,
Mm,
I have to be willing to feel those things, the fear of not getting what I want, the pain, the sadness, the not good enoughness. I have to be willing to face that if I'm going to grow my levels of desire.
totally. One of my biggest ones was like desperation, desperation to relational desperation, and like the places where I had shunned down the part of me that like actually desperately wants to be in relationship and to feel the intensity of that desperation to actually realize that, oh, it's okay. I will survive without it, you know?
Mm,
But
mm,
those ways that the intensity of the emotion blocks us from actually going there, and the gateway is always through.
mm. For me, I love that you said it's important that we separate out the desire, like the primal sexual, and then creation in all other areas. And once again, I see in my own path how I have really looked at it in the more primal or intimate bedroom space while seeing and watching it ripple into all the other areas has kind of been my path.
Mm,
And one for me, it was like, okay, my desire is not clear or potent or as direct as I would like it to be. Seeing that, having the willingness to go into it and face the fear of not getting what I want and not getting these desires and oh, the anguish of rejection or whatever those feelings are that come up on the path of that desire, which has been so fascinating because what I looked at as an extreme version was looking at the Dom sub relationship
mm, mm,
and how the Dom is just like, this is what I want, this is how I want it to like an extreme level.
mhm,
And that was something that I looked at in myself as like, what would I have to shape in myself to be able to speak to my desire on that level? Where I
mhm,
am curating every little intricate thing in an experience with another person. I'm not only directing my own desire, I'm directing the experience of me and my another person, which has
mhm,
been fascinating to have like an extreme map for me to go, I'm way far away from that.
Hmm.
But seeing it as like a way that I could work towards facing these fears, learning more clearly of like, this is what I want, and this is how I want it. And
Hmm.
it's just been fascinating for me.
Well, it's also fascinating archetypally, those two, that combination, because it's like we can develop that erectness, right? That erectness, that penetration, that certainty. And then we also have to develop that surrender and that letting go of, right, I want something and I want to create it to look exactly like this, and I want it to be like this, and I want it to arrive then, and like the certainty that it's going to happen, but then also that utter total surrender of, okay, I'm in co-creation here. I actually don't get to choose when, how, where. I don't get to choose any of that, but I'm certain that it's going to happen.
Mm,
And it's archetypally, it's fascinating because that's what we have to integrate internally, right? Between ourselves.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm. One of the words that we talked about earlier, which I think we're really bumping up against here now, which is capacity.
Mm,
And
mm,
this is once again one of the reasons why sexuality is one of my favorite places to for personal development because I feel like it's an, such a potent place to work with capacity. What is my nervous system? What is my brain? What does my body have the capacity to experience sensations wise without me getting blown out, uh, twisted up, confused, upset, whatever. So I'd love to talk about capacity in this theme that we're talking about around desire and growing the capacity.
yeah. Yeah, capacity is one of my favorite topics. And I was actually shared a reel yesterday, and I was watching this reel, and I was like, this woman gets it. She was essentially saying that where we lack capacity, we're underdeveloped. And so many people in the comments were triggered by her usage of the word underdeveloped. And she was like, well, it's actually just a maturation, right? Where we choose to avoid, where we go into collapse, where we shut down, all of those places, it is showing us that we are underdeveloped in our ability to remain open. And so desire, manifesting, creating, and sexuality is all totally connected to our openness. Like our ability to stay with sensation, our ability to stay with loss, our ability to letting something go in trust that something else is going to come through, our ability to fully trust life and where our desire is leading us. And I love that you said that sexuality is one of your favorite ways to work with self-development, because for me, that ability to work with sensation is the foundation to being able to manifest desire, to create desire, to feel desire. It's like, for me, it's the only way. And there's obviously loads of other ways. There's kind of like breath work and all of those
Yeah.
different ways that people can work with that. But for me, my gateway has been through sexuality. And that kind of titration on the edge of expansion is something really important to work with so that we can keep opening to what it is that we want to create, whatever it is we want to create, whether it's a more aligned partner, whether it's more income, whether it's land in Mexico, whatever it is, sensationally, we've
Yeah.
got to be able to hold that. And I think like collapse is one of our I don't want to say biggest enemies because it is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's the detriment to our desire. So our avoidance,
Adversaries.
yeah, totally. Totally. Avoidance and collapse are the things that are blocking us from actually holding and having our desire. Wherever we choose to be in avoidance, it's like you're not going to be able to bring that forth. Whatever the creation, whatever desire is asking of you, wherever you are avoiding along that path, you are going to end up blowing it up or collapsing.
In the conversation of capacity in particular, the subject of sexuality, I'm curious to talk about a few subjects because when I think of capacity, some of the main things that I see show up for men, particularly in the bedroom, is premature ejaculation,
Mm,
erectile dysfunction,
mm.
performance anxiety. These are like three of the core ones that I see relate to capacity around sensation. And
Yep.
that I
Mm,
think one of the biggest things men are navigating is not understanding things on a sensation level. The mind is just in the mind and I think a huge part of it is the threading with shame that
perform.
there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough, this person's not going to be pleased, so they're going to leave me, da 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 da. Like there's just so much mind going on that the man doesn't actually have the ability to understand that he's at a sensational capacity of some kind, and that's where he should place his attention. I'm
Yep.
curious your thoughts on this, or even if you have experience with this.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I'd love to speak to here. So the first one is I'll speak to it from the woman's perspective and my understanding. So with regards to erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, so much of the feminine desire and her current can actually implement that. So I think for a lot of men, there's a lot of pressure with this part of the bedroom. And what I would love to kind of allow men to know is that you're actually way more intuitive than society allows you to believe. You can feel way more than what you've been programmed. We're always kind of like, oh, it's the women's intuition and it's her body. And it is so much our feminine body, yes. And also, there can often be an undisclosed subtlety in her desire that is not actually forthcoming for the penetration to come on. And I think this is really important for men to understand because there's so much responsibility for the men. And actually, a lot of it can be with the feminine shutdown in her system and her internal, perhaps repulsion or whatever it is that she starts to feel when the energetics um, collapse,
Hmm.
right? And her own connection to her desire and her hunger is so important for the man to be able to feel, to respond to. So much of that erectness that he's desiring to feel can be infiltrated through the feminine receptivity, her aliveness, her desire. So I think that's the first thing that I wanted to speak to, just with regards to sexual energetics. And then the second piece being kind of like, so for men, you might have this premature ejaculation that's connected to your desire, and women, we can kind of miscarry our desire as well. So sensation can be really big for us, and it's like something gets really close, and then the desire will just dissolve because
Hmm.
sensationally we can't hold that. And that's similar to what's happening in premature ejaculation. It's like the sensation and the pressure. It's actually where we disconnect from the arousal of the desire and we start to become mental. And this is
Hmm.
similar to the feminine system when we miscarry our desire. It's like we start to get grippy, too much fear comes up. Can we hold this? There's so much happening, and that's when it
Hmm.
floats. And that's kind of the same with the premature ejaculation. And so, so much of this for both men and women is how do we slow down? How do we come into our back body to actually start to receive the sensation that's available? Because we can actually hold way more sensation than we think we can. We've just started to pull it all the way up through the body and it's got really tight. And all of a sudden, we're really tight around it.
Hmm.
So, how can we slow down? And this is for men in the bedroom, outside of the bedroom. It's like, how do you slow down so that you can actually start to come into your body again?
Hmm.
The moment that you're focusing on your performance level and
Hmm.
also what's happening, and oh no, now I'm losing control of this thing, and da 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 da. And it's the same for the feminine's miscarry of the desire, right? It's like we wanted this thing, we were so close to receiving it, and then all of a sudden we started to grip and it got further and further and further, and then it just poofed,
Hmm.
right? And what's happening on both levels is we're just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And what happens when we relax is actually so much of the intensity diffuses. It just like, hoo, 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 hoo. And then all of a sudden there's so much more space. And then that's where the arousal can start to build again in the bedroom, but also outside of the bedroom.
Mm. I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you and to hear it from that other lens. And that has really been my mantra lately is relaxing into arousal. How can I relax more into arousal?
Because we
How
get
can
so excited. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling something. There's so much sensation. And this is like when we're creating something and also when we're in the bedroom, we're just like, oh, this is so exciting, da 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 da. And we just lose connection to actually our feeling. And the feeling is where it starts to starts to build organically, right? And this is why sexuality is such an important part of desire, is because it allows us to see the same ways that it relates to in the outside world and to our creational body, right? It's like, okay, cool. If we just move on a creation really fast, we're going to miss everything. But actually, it's about the gestation of the whole experience for it to then birth.
I'm laughing because I'm like literally seeing in myself this connection to I do that all the time. It's like, oh, this new idea. Oh yeah. And then I like leave the thing that I was just so passionate about and had invested probably a lot of time and energy in. And just, oh, the new thing. I want to create that. And then that like I don't follow that thread. And that's really my practice is being with it's almost like commitment is a big part for me in this commitment to a desire
Mhm.
and not just like it's like I'm birthing something it's like I'm birthing something I birth something and then I'm like give that kid to the fosterhood like put it in the as a foster child or something like I'm done with you I'm on to the next one and I'm just really seeing that as you're sharing here.
And I think that's also why, like that relationship to for me, I love creating things for the sake of creating. So I think to be able to be connected to that is important, that not everything needs to be this thing and this project and this lifelong thing. It's like sometimes we just need to do things just to get it through our system, right? And I think just being able to have that relationship is important and being able to really connect to, okay, what are the true things that I want to devote to, that I want to commit to, that I want to bring in like structure around.
And what's so beautiful here is that I think like we've been talking about if I look at my patterns in the bedroom in that form of desire, and then I look at it simultaneously in my desire and creation in other areas of my life, I'm probably going to have clues in all those areas that show me patterns or habits
Really.
because like you said, it is important simultaneously to just let creativity move through and create from that place quickly. And then simultaneously, it's like for me to see the patterns of commitment. So that's like something that I see, whether it's in relationship and intimacy and in creation. Well, I see that thread in many places where it's like, okay, that's part of my desire that I need to maturate and increase my capacity and ability in that way.
Totally. And not collapse on the things that I say I want. Like it's so easy just to be like, yeah, I want to do this, and then I want to have that, and then I want to do this, and then I want to build this, and I want to release that, and it's like, okay, cool. So where is your focus actually? Because otherwise it's just like it's wasted energy.
And here's a perfect example, and I love that we're going here, or my mind's going here right now, is for some people, it's easy to have this creative energy that is, I want to have a child. Like that can come through really easily, just out of nowhere in a heat of a moment. Oh, I want to have a child. And it's like, okay, well, there are some levels of capacity that it would be good to have before stepping into that because it's like that is a commitment for life and
It's a
raising another
lifelong
life.
commitment. Yeah, that's no short creation. That's like a lifelong commitment.
And for me, it's just feeling into the simplicity of how that desire can come up and come through. And, we're talking about capacity and all these layers of desire. There's just, there are these layers of desire to grow and learn about in what do I want? Where is it coming from?
Mhm.
Are there younger parts of me leading this? What's my capacity around commitment? What's my ability to birth something quickly and not overthink and procrastinate and quote unquote sabotage myself? Like there are so many different arenas within desire that I can curate and work on so that my capacity with desire grows in all these different areas, that I can birth something quick, that I have the commitment for a desire long term.
Totally. And am I the person that can receive it? Whenever I'm teaching with desire, I always talk about kind of the more things we want, the more we have to be responsible for, right? If we want something, it comes with responsibility. If I buy three new plants for my home, I got to water three more plants for my home. It's not just about like, yeah, I want to have all these plants in my home. It's, am I going to be able to water them? Like, am I going to be home every 2 weeks to make sure that they're getting enough sunlight? All of these things, right? And so as we're saying that we want these things, like, oh, I want to build a business, I want to release this program, I want to have a partner, I want to be a mother, I want to be a father, I want to have community. It's like, okay, cool. Who are you in the face of actually being able to be responsible for all of these things? And like the more we have, the more we actually have to show up for. So then all of a sudden it's like the lesser desires start to dissolve. It's like, no, I can't have all these friends. I actually can only I can actually only have the people that like I'm really invested in
Wow.
because if I want these relationships, it requires my responsibility and my willingness to show up for it. If I want to serve all these programs and all these women and all these people, it's like, cool, I only have a certain amount of energy. And so where am I putting that energy? And I think that's an important part of capacity. It's like, what are we burning energy on? And where could it be better redirected?
I feel like so nailed with that one because with commitment, a huge one for me has been responsibility.
Mhm.
And with my lifestyle that I lived with snowboarding, it was very much the Lost Boys, Never Never Land. I don't ever want to grow up. And so a big part of, I think, my own journey is the shifting of my desires and building the capacity that is holding responsibility because responsibility has been that thing that I'm like, that's chains around my liberation and freedom. And I realized that through one lens, I could see it that way, but ultimately, I had to kind of untangle that perspective because actually, a lot of my liberation is the expansion and capacity around responsibility.
Totally. Totally. I find that for me, that's the most freeing thing. Like when I'm actually able to direct my energy into the things I know I want to create, that's where I feel most freedom. When I have like what we would consider freedom, I actually don't feel so free. I often feel really confused and like directionless. And actually having those commitments and having those responsibilities is what allows me to channel my energy to create more. Like it kind of feeds me. Yeah. Yeah. And um, I think that's like a really beautiful thing when you know you're on a thread of desire that it kind of just branches off. Like everything keeps branching off of that desire and it keeps building and expanding. And I think, yeah, that's a really magical part of desire.
I think we've given the listeners a lot to chew on. And, I'm feeling a lot of aha moments for myself in this conversation. I'm curious what comes up for you for encouragement or things for men to practice when it comes to getting in touch with their desire, where it's coming from, their capacity, a lot of these things we've talked about, like what arises for you to share with the listeners as part as like stepping across a threshold or putting in a practice or growing in some way that they can get more in touch with their desire and what to do with it.
Yeah, there's something around like discernment that wants to come through where it's like I f getting in touch with what's leading the desire. I feel like where is it coming from the primal body and where is that really overriding and taking over? And this is something as well that I work with women, but this is just a collective thing. We're so conditioned not to want. And I think when we can start to allow ourselves, so on the polarity of discernment, it's also allowing yourself to dream and
Mm,
like being afraid of that expansion and really starting to practice with what it means to what feels not necessarily even bigger, but what expands me, what lights me up, what starts to turn my system on in the thought of having. Is it like going to your next men's retreat? Is it buying land and building property? Like, what are the things that you actually start to, because it's literal, right? If I was to ask you, Ian, what are your desires right now? You'd start to feel the erectness, but you'd also start to feel the aliveness in your system. So
mm,
what is it that is exciting you? And how do those things align with your values? And I
mm,
think that's where the discernment piece comes in.
mm.
Like, is it a new car because cars are your passion, or is it a new car because you're fucking empty and you want to build an ego? Like,
Ooh,
what's the difference? And I
ooh.
think that's a really interesting inquiry.
Which I love, how that's showing up for me is kind of playing with this, what do I want,
Hmm.
but also a follow-up, which is where is it coming from?
Hmm.
What do I believe I will get from that? What do I believe I will have in bringing that curiosity to shape how I'm developing within my desire?
Totally. And I think also on the flip of that, it's like not letting the desire be mental. If it doesn't activate you and like want to expand you and invite aliveness to you, then you probably just think you should. It's like, oh, I'll just go to my next men's retreat because I feel like that's going to give me this, this, this. And if it doesn't actually ignite something in you, then you're just doing it because you feel like that's the answer.
Mm,
It has to have that bodily response where I always see desire as like it should always expand you, right? It should always have that. And it might also at first be like, oh no, you might feel like a bit of repulsion first, but you have to be able to feel the thread of the calling.
mm,
And for me, if it's contracting me, it means that something in me isn't a yes. And I need to discover what
mm,
part of me isn't a yes and how, if I feel like it's really for me, what do I need to do to make it a yes?
mm,
What's the younger part that's scared? Is it scarcity? Is it money? Is it exhaustion? Like, what's the thing that's saying no if I really feel it's a yes? But yeah, you want to be able to have that somatic response of, I feel like desire is an invitation into monas. It's like your higher self being like, this way, let's go be more integrous, let's go be more responsible, let's go serve more medicine, let's go expand into who we're here to be. And yeah, that's always what I'm looking for.
And I think this question is also really good in the simple form of the bedroom.
Mhm.
What do I want? What is my pain point? I think so many men are in a position of that they feel and think they want more sex or they want a different kind of sex. And it's like, okay, what do I want? But where is that coming from? Like really being curious about where that's coming from because I think a lot of those are coming from the younger parts, are coming from parts that maybe aren't perceived by the man of feeling safe or
Mm,
feeling seen or feeling good enough and
mhm,
really being curious about the things that the desires that we feel we have in the bedroom, but bringing in that next layer of curiosity of where is that coming from? Does that just make me feel alive? Do I just feel turned on by that? And it's just like fun and vital, brings a lot of energy to my body, or is it like very mental and kind of quagmire sticky of like, oh, I really want that thing because then I will feel something and be something.
mm. Totally. And I think, there's a lot of stigma for men in the bedroom that it's kind of all about what the women want to experience. And I think there's a permission piece for the man too of what do I want to create? What kind of experience do I want to create for myself and my partner or my lover or this person, however it's showing up? It's like, what's the experience that we're co-creating and how do I want it to feel?
Hmm.
Because I think that's such a mismatch, and the bedroom is such a great place to show us, right? It's like, oh, we go and have sex with somebody, and actually it feels really disempowering, or really empty, or really numb, or really disconnective. So it's like, cool, what do I want my experiences to feel like? And then how does that translate from the bedroom into what we create? It's like there's no point having the car if it doesn't actually like light you up when you see it, right?
Mm. Yeah, that's such a great example. I think that's happening a lot for people. It's like following the thread, but not being curious where it's coming from. And then I feel like that's even more agonizing to have
Oh,
the thing and then you're there and you're like, ugh, this is not what I was desiring it to be.
hmm. Yeah, that painful journey of the mismatch of where we've been led. But then also it's perfect, right? It's like, oh, cool, I can see now where I was led from.
Mm. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Any words of wisdom, Melody, as a woman to the men listeners for any of these things we've talked about today?
Hmm. Yeah, as a woman, I love feeling and hearing a man's desire. I love hearing his creations and the things that he wants to do in his life and wants to build. And so not being afraid, first off, to connect to your desire, not being afraid to want something, but then also not being afraid to let us know what you want in all areas. Like for me, it's so expansive to hear a man's desire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, how can we do that?
Listen to that one, listeners. Really take that one in. Thank you so much, Melody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Many more episodes to come. I will share ways to follow Melody in the descriptions, links that Melody wants to share with all y'all, and we've got more episodes to come.